Consciously Creating Circumstances, written by George W. Plummer in 1937. Narrated by Richard Schaefer.
Chapter 5. Forming the Picture. Again, let us review briefly what we've done so far. We have found that A, as Shelley says, nothing in this world is single, all things by a law divine in each other's being mingle. In other words, all is one in what we term universal mind. Seeming separateness is an illusion of the senses. B, each of us is an individual expression of that universal mind. It functions in us both outwardly through our objective mind and inwardly through our subjective or subconscious mind. These are really but two aspects of the one mind, but they function differently because of our nature. C, your objective mind, circumscribed in its abilities by your experience, your judgment, and your mentality in its outward dealings with this world, has but limited power, and your subjective or subconscious mind, directed inwardly to all the worlds on the inner planes, drawing life from the very source of everything that is, has access to unlimited power. D, despite the incredible difference in their respective potential powers, your objective mind can control your subjective or subconscious mind, give it orders, and plan its activities. So it sets at work for you by consciously cooperating with your subjective or subconscious mind, infinitely greater forces than your comparatively feeble, conscious mentality can command alone. All this we have now checked up on, and you must be satisfied so far, or the rest of our discussion will prove a total loss to you. Our next step to discover how the objective can control the subjective. How, in other words, can we consciously create circumstances? Through our five senses, we distinguish objects in our visible world according to what we call form. If we look at a picture or a landscape, we see the form it presents by means of our eyes and brain. If we close our eyes, we can still preserve that picture by a mental vision of what we have seen. But the picture we see with our eyes and later reproduced in our minds is the picture of something that already exists. It is the result of some previous creative activity. Now approaches the big point to which we have been working since we first began this study. In consciously creating circumstances, we reverse the process of physical sight. Instead of seeing mentally a picture of what we know already exists physically, we use this giant power within us by impressing our individual subjective or subconscious mind with the picture of what we want to see come about physically. This is how simple it is. Simple, I said, not easy, but entirely possible. When we view a picture or landscape, we see it first with our physical eyes, then in our minds. Now throw the gears in reverse. In your work of consciously creating circumstances, you are to see the picture of what you want first in your mind, and later with your physical eye after it comes into externalization. You originate pictures, and then, by means of a definite technique, you make them come true before your very eyes in due time. Put another way, creating circumstances requires you first to impress on your subjective or subconscious mind what you want to perceive later with your objective mind. This is a revolutionary thought to some people. How can you reverse a natural process, they say, and expect to get results? Well, you do it with other natural processes. You can make your automobile go backward, even though it usually goes forward. You can make the electric motor run the steam engine, although it usually works vice versa. And the sun itself first turns day into night, and then turns night into day. So too, you, a son or daughter of the sun, can turn your dark night of trouble, of discord, disappointments, and delays into the glorious day of accomplishment, joy, and happiness by reversing the usual process. Do not accept whatever may come before your eyes. Determine for yourself what shall come before your eyes. You can and will do it if you will follow directions. But first and foremost, know what you want. Many people fail in life because they do not realize what they want. Have a clear, well-defined understanding with yourself before you start consciously to create circumstances. Do not make up your mind hastily. In dealing with an infinite force, you cannot afford to be hasty. If you insist on being so, you will have only yourself to blame when your efforts fail, as they surely will. You cannot hurry the infinite. Now let us say that you have a particular desire. We will assume that it is a desire that you can, with the warm approval of your conscience, take to the universal mind for fulfillment. How do you get results? To some extent, we all enjoy a faculty of imagination, which Einstein has said is more important than knowledge. Imagination differs in degree and in kind in the individual according to temperament, vocation, and evolutional status. But wherever there is human consciousness, there is also some degree of imagination. So when you have a distinct desire, you automatically form a mental picture of it. Incomplete as it may be, it requires the use of your imagining faculty. So when you have a distinct desire, you automatically form a mental picture of it. Incomplete as it may be, it requires the use of your imaging faculty. Having satisfied yourself that your predominating desire is worthy, that it involves no harm or detriment to another, that it will work out to the advantage of others besides yourself, fix that desire. Use your imagination to the utmost to develop a perfect, well-defined picture of it. Not as you hope it may be, but as if it were already a fact. See yourself in that picture, actually occupied in doing exactly what you would do if it were already externalized. Hold this mental picture as long as you can. Concentrate on making the image complete. Do not strain or try to will it into being. Just keep the image in mind, thinking of it objectively as often as your activities permit. Now, what are you really doing? Clearly, you are using your objective mind to decide what you want and to build up a perfect picture of that desire brought about in your life. Lots of people go that far. But here is where 999 out of 1,000 go wrong. They make the objective mind greatly limited in its knowledge and power. Try to do the rest of the job, which properly belongs to the subjective or subconscious mind, with its direct access to unlimited power and knowledge of the universal mind. Once you have formed your picture objectively, give the poor tired conscious mentality a rest. Leave the remainder of the job to the universal, not as a request or a hope that it will see you through, but in perfect faith, born of the knowledge that your image has already been built and is bound to come to press. Why should you have that faith? Why will your images, if persisted in and adhered to constantly, come true in the circumstances of your daily life? What, so to speak, are the mechanics of the process? Let's go back a little. We agreed that the objective can control the subjective, which means that an image formed by the objective can be impressed on the subjective as an order to be carried out. The hypnotist orders the unconscious person under his conscious control to bark like a dog. His subject barks like a dog. Your unconscious or subjective mind receives an order from your conscious, objective mind. For instance, to make you well, get you money, or whatnot. Your subjective, subconscious mind immediately accepts the order and goes to work. What tools does the subjective or subconscious mind have to work with? My answer is all the tools, known and unknown, in the universe, because it is your personal link with this universal subjective mind which knows all, sees all, and can accomplish all things. And it will do whatever you command, because it is impersonal and has no will of its own, any more than a great reservoir can refuse to let the water run out of a single spigot that is turned on. Therefore, you can entirely, with reason, have the faith that your demand will be met, that your images will come to pass in your own life, that the circumstances you consciously create mentally will come about physically just as surely as you are reading these words. For as Disraeli asserted, man is not the creature of circumstances. Circumstances are the creatures of men. These images we generally term thought forms because they are real in the world of thought. You decided objectively what they should be. You work subjectively to bring them about. Do not confuse the two. Let each aspect of mind do the work it can do best. The ways and means of doing so come next.